Hello, beautiful people. It's Sinderfam. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're back again with another video from the Whatever podcast. Let's check it out.
So honestly, well, Nala, you said that you see all these women on TikTok who they want to go back to this idea of traditional womanhood, and you want to go back to being trad women and this type of thing, right? But the thing is that I think most of these women are chameleons, in that when you press them on what they believe traditionalism actually is, and what they think submission actually is, and this type of thing, they really want an equal relationship or some type of egalitarian relationship. And I think that men categorically reject that more and more. They don't want it. They don't want to have an equally yoked relationship. It's not of interest to men to be equally yoked with women.
Equally yoked as in religion?
I think that when you say equally yoked, that this term is applying to the ontology of men and women. And egalitarianism is not what that means.
Wait, are you talking about like equally yoked as in religion? Like you believe the same thing, or just equally yoked as like you are equal in being human?
Men and women, you would agree with me, right? We have an ontological difference. What
Obviously.
is a man and what is a woman is different. So ontology being the philosophy of being, right? What is the being of a man is not the same as the being of a woman.
Facts.
We're not interchangeable widgets. So saying that we're equally yoked is not saying we're equal. It's saying that there is a process, an ontological process of us being super compatible with each other. This is true if each of us is taking on the role we're supposed to be taking on, which is part of who we are as our being.
Agreed.
But what ends up happening, at least what I see, is that many women claim that they want that role, and then the second they're pushed in this role, or they're in the role and get pushed back in it, they become ultra feminist immediately. They revert to feminism in seconds. They will, if there's a divorce going on, they go from trad to feminist real quick. Look at Steven Crowder's wife, for instance. I can give you example after example after example of women who do this. They instantly move into feminism mode. I think that men generally they just don't believe them. They just don't believe them. They just don't think that they're actually telling the truth, that they're looking for any sort of traditional anything, because when pushed on these actual topics, it becomes more about me, the woman, than it becomes about the submissive role of the woman.
Right,
rather,
but I do think
what do I get? Go ahead.
I don't actually have any specific testimonies to this, because I really don't know these people personally. I've just seen that like this is what they're pushing out on social media. So I really have no idea, and I've never pushed them on their views. However, I do feel like women are pushed into this role now because of what's going on social media, and I think that a lot of people see like these generational issues and want to be like so far from it that they want to be like back to the basics. You know what I'm saying? Like they see all of these issues being pushed out daily. Like everyone has an issue with something or someone about some different type of opinion. And some of us just want to get back to the basics of what being a wife is about, being a homemaker, being that nurturing wife for your husband. But again, I've never pushed these topics on any woman.
Being a wife has anything to do with being a homemaker, though.
It does.
I think that in most situations we would consider the nuclear family needs a homemaker for sure.
But the homemaker is not the wife, you say?
No, I think that a good wife only has to do with one thing, and the idea of a good wife is the idea of submission, and that is the number one thing which makes a wife a good wife, is a submitted wife,
a submitted slave.
So yeah, see what I mean? It's like you revert right to feminism immediately.
I'm definitely not a feminism. I am so
I know, but
pro-male.
Submission is slavery.
But you said that's the only role for a woman is for her to submit.
No, I didn't. I said that's a key quality to a good wife.
Is submission? But you don't think she should make a home? A home? You think
no.
what?
I said a homemaker, right? Whatever you think a homemaker is tangential to submission, because if you have a homemaker who's not submitted, then who gives a shit?
I never said it wasn't. I do think a woman should submit to her husband.
Nothing. All other things past submission mean nothing without the submission portion. And the second you say a slave, right, you show exactly why men don't trust these TikTok women, because when pushed on what submission is, you equate it instantly to slavery. So why the fuck should they ever trust you?
It's because of the way you describe it. You really think that you should never bring up a topic to your wife because ultimately what you say rules. That's it. There's no other option other than that. Your wife is there to listen to you when you want her to listen to you, but that is it. And that she can have no equal say in any type of issue.
You know, my issue with most of these women or lots of these modern women is they keep saying, oh, they want to be wives, they want to submit to their husband. And some of them will say, oh, they want to um be equal as their husband or whatever. But when it comes down to getting or doing the real thing that would make you and your husband or your partner equal, then they drift away from it or they shift away from it. I remember that time they are the wife or they are supposed to be submitting. Lots of these TikTokers who claim to be traditional women or who create content, some of them are just using it as a frontier or as a means to create content, because I mean it is now marketable and lots of them find it like or see it as an opportunity to create content about it or just create content centering about it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are traditional wives or they are traditional women or they are submitting to their husband, because I mean it is a lot easier to do. You get, it's a lot easier. So the minute she just switched and say, oh, you want your wife to be slave, then you understand where the mindset is coming from, because you are not a slave. You okay, if the wife you consider or see you as a wife submitting to your husband as a slave, then what do you consider a man who goes out to work to provide for the home? What do you consider it? Hmm? Because a man is supposed to keep the end of his bargain, but when it gets to the woman or when it's time for the woman, then it becomes negotiable. Why is that?
Equal say.
But it's because do you feel in any way that your wife brings anything to your?
What does it mean?
Do you feel like your wife? You can keep interrupting me or treat me like an adult and respect me and listen.
I don't want to talk past each other. I just want to know what submission means.
Obey.
I don't want to talk past you.
It's easy, but it's also different because biblically, I mean, have you ever heard of like the man is the head and the woman is the neck?
No, the woman's the body. She reflects the body of Christ. The man reflects the head of Christ.
Okay. For me, I've just heard that the man is the head and the woman is the neck. However,
here's biblical marriage. Biblical marriage is the man reflects the head of the church, Christ. The woman reflects the body of the church. Okay? That the church itself is the body. Okay? That is the reflection. So the man is a reflection of Christ. As Paul says, wives, submit to your husbands as you would unto the Lord. As you
Absolutely.
would unto the Lord.
Absolutely.
So the thing is that when you say submission is slavery, you'd be saying the same thing about God. Your submission to God is slavery. Then.
No, it's not. But doesn't Paul refer himself to as a slave of Jesus Christ? And even a servant of Christ. Paul refers himself to a servant as a servant of Christ. So isn't that not the same thing? Is that not the same thing then?
No, it's not the same thing.
How is it not the same thing?
Because then you end up with this logical contradiction again, the circle. So it works like this. The man is the head, and the man's decision must be adhered to, and you must trust him to adhere to it in a godly way. If you move to point two, where you say, but I must contradict the man, even though he's doing nothing moral or anything which comports against the reason of Christian ethics, then you move back to, I have no recourse but to listen to the man. So anytime you ask for the justification for the reasoning, right? Anytime he gives you that, that's him being extremely kind to you, not a necessity that he does so. It's just a logical circle. It just always moves back.
Right, but do you not think that the wife has her own walk with Christ and that it's not the same as her husband's? So do you think that
no.
Your walk with Christ is very different from your husband's walk with Christ? You are both going in the same direction.
You're one flesh.
You absolutely are, but you still have a different walk with Christ than your husband.
Okay, but who do you defer to know? So like, look, for instance, okay, your husband goes to you and he says, this church that we're going to, we're not going here anymore. And you say,
that's his spiritual leadership.
Hang on. He says, I really like the pastor. I really like this. And he's like, we're not going anymore. We're not going. Who do you defer to?
I need to have a different conversation with my husband, asking him why he doesn't feel this way anymore. I need to see why biblically he doesn't think that this church is good for us.
So he gives you a justification, you disagree?
No, I'm asking questions based off. I am questioning
Yeah, I know.
his.
And he
I'm not
says-
questioning his authority. I'm questioning
Yeah,
where
he
he
answers
stands
your
with
questions.
Christ.
He answers your questions, but hypothetically you disagree. I'm saying hypothetically.
No, I never
after
said I
answering the
disagree.
question-
I'm just asking. I'm asking why he thinks this. I'm literally asking his opinion on it.
Yeah,
I'm not
I know,
even
I know,
disagreeing
but
yet. You're saying that.
Engage with the hypothetical with me. You talk to him, you're asking why, he gives you his reasoning, and you don't agree. So then what's the next?
I don't agree biblically.
You don't agree with why he wants to leave this church.
Well, honestly, that's okay then. So for me, I feel like no matter what, I'm here to serve the Lord, no matter what my husband does or doesn't do. So if we decide to go to another church, we go to another church under my husband's direction.
We don't decide. He decides. He's saying, we are going to a different church, and you disagree. So if
I go to the new church that he would like me to go to.
Right.
But in
So
the
then-
meantime,
so then the
please let me finish. Please let me finish. If you don't want to be interrupted, I definitely don't want to be interrupted. However, you're asking me a question and I'm trying to back it up with what I actually think. So if he wants to go to a different church, that's fine. Let's go to a different church. But in the meantime, I can sit and pray and ask God, hey, listen, God, I think this was the wrong decision, but I am here to serve my husband like you told me to. So prayer can change everything. So God can literally come down and change his heart if what we're doing is wrong biblically. But again, yes, it is my role to submit to my husband no matter what.
Right. So then if he gives you zero justification, right? So he says, we're just leaving the church and I don't want to give you a reason as to why. Are you still going to leave the church with him?
Yes.
Okay, well then the justification part is simply a preference and not a requirement, because ultimately what you're saying there, Mrs. Andrew loves enslaving women, is that regardless of if he justifies it or not, you're gonna fucking do it anyway. So if that is the case, then can you tell me why it is it's a requirement for him to create the justification to begin with?
Number one, you said it was a requirement. I never said it was a requirement for him to tell me why he was going to do something.
You said
I
it was
just said,
slavery. You said
I
it was
just said,
slavery.
all I said was I would ask his opinion on it. I never said it was his requirement to tell me. Me asking a question is not a requirement. He can completely ignore me if he wanted to.
Then how is my view of submission slavery, Nala?
Because are we referring to the video of this girl bowing and serving her husband like that?
You said my view of submission was slavery. How is it?
You can't see it.
How is my
There's a
view
glare.
of submission slavery if you literally agree with my view of submission?
That was
Well,
good.
because
That was good.
the way you go about it is saying like, so no matter what, I'm gonna make the decisions. Basically, F her. Like, it doesn't matter. She's the wife. I don't care. Like, what she has to say. But you don't think that she could bring anything spiritual to the relationship because
Never
what?
said
You're the
anything
man?
of the sort. It's ultimately his decision. I just said it's ultimately his decision. So if it's ultimately his decision, you agree it's ultimately his decision. You're going to comply with it whether he justifies it or not.
Did I not say that it was obeying?
And that's exactly my view. Then how in the world could you then say, that's because, Andrew, you want a slave? That makes no sense.
Well, just the way you speak about your wife is quite difficult for me to understand.
Would you like to talk to my wife?
Oh my God, can we?
Let's get her on. Let's talk to your wife.
Bring Rachel out.
Let's get Rachel.
God help you if you talk to Rachel. Okay.
Let's get Rachel.
Wait, but let's meet
We love Rachel.
Speaking of which,
I'm the nice one, Nala.
hey, speaking of which, we also need to get Nala's husband.
You know, this modern day women, this modern women's version of traditional women or traditional wives is question your husband's leadership, ask questions first before obey. And they are not ready to serve. They are not even ready to do the work. They just want the traditional name just because it is befitting others or it makes sense. They don't actually want to do the job. They don't even want to be traditional women. They don't want to submit to their husbands at all. But they want their husbands to be providers without asking questions, or to be providers willingly, but on their own side, or they are not ready to willingly submit to their husbands and trust their husband's leadership. So make it make sense. So the fact that you are questioning your husband or questioning your partner partner's judgment and leadership says otherwise, goes to tell you that, oh, you don't even trust his leadership at all, and you want to be the leader, you want to also be the decision maker at your time, and at your own time you want to submit to your husband. It doesn't work like that. Both parties have to keep their end of their bargain, but it seems like modern women are having a hard time keeping their own part of the bargain. But I really love your thoughts in the comments down below. You can share the useful information you think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on all of that stuff, and until next time, see you in the next video.